Welcome back to the deep dive, where we tear into your source material to pull out the insights you need to know. We're starting today with a genuinely surprising premise.
Yeah.
That the real secrets to success in life and business, they might not be in the usual textbooks or, economic forecasts.
Right.
But actually on backstage passes and stages, according to the book Rockstar MBA.
That's right. We are basically translating rock and roll wisdom into universal business principles.
I love that.
And today, our focus is the critical, and I mean often brutal, role of quality control.
The gatekeeper.
The gatekeeper. The role they once played, and now more importantly, the role you have to play for yourself.
So our mission here is to really examine how high-quality expert feedback can just dramatically increase the chance of success for any venture. And we need to understand with a real sense of urgency why this whole system of filtering and quality assurance is now more vital than ever, especially in a world completely saturated by what the source material calls white noise.
And this deep dive, it's absolutely for anyone launching an idea. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a new app, a book, a service.
Anything.
Anything. We're looking at how you can incorporate a robust, almost musical stage gate process into your idea. A system that basically forces you to embrace truthful criticism early on.
So your product has the best chance of actually cutting through the chaos and, hitting the big time.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's unpack this internet paradox first, because it's really the foundation of the entire problem, isn't it?
It is. The rise of the World Wide Web created this just monumental explosion of opportunity for creators, for entrepreneurs, for artists.
Yeah, if you had a good idea, you could suddenly reach an audience almost instantly.
But that freedom, it had a massive adverse outcome, an absolute flood of content.
We're drowning in it.
We really are. And, the sheer volume is one problem, but the bigger issue is the quality.
Or the lack of it.
The lack of it, yeah. We see poorly produced music. You see inaccurate information, just endless low-quality instructional videos, poorly written ebooks and blogs.
And it all just dominates the search results.
It does.
And all of that low-grade material is what the sources define as white noise.
It's a very precise definition, too. It's not just a casual term.
Right.
It's defined as meaningless chat and these continual background sounds.
The static.
It's the static that fundamentally drowns out anything important.
Yeah.
And for you, the consumer, it makes it incredibly difficult, bordering on impossible, to filter the good, useful information from the bad.
You just get fatigued.
You get fatigue, and eventually you just stop looking.
And this shift happens so fast. If we just rewind to, pre-internet days, the barriers to entry in almost any industry they were massive and complex.
Oh, absolutely.
If you wanted a radio show, you needed a license, a huge tower. If you wanted to publish a book, you had to convince a major publishing house to spend thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars on you.
Right. And those barriers, they were expensive and restrictive, but they were also the default quality control filter we were talking about.
A filter.
Yeah. And now those barriers have been almost entirely stripped away.
Completely gone.
Musicians can produce and distribute their own work on Spotify. Writers can just skip the publisher entirely and self-publish. Mobile tech means anyone can now offer a service like Uber or list a property on Airbnb.
So on the surface, it sounds like this pure victory for the little guy.
It does.
But the source material points out that, the sobering consequence of this total lack of filtering, it has drastically lowered earnings for a huge percentage of creators.
It's the economic reality of abundance, isn't it?
Yeah.
When everyone is able to publish something, the market value of a published thing just drops. The sources cite a NY Times report that the average writer now makes something like $20,000 a year.
That's nothing.
It's nothing.
Oh.
And this isn't a problem of talent disappearing. It's a problem of audience access and the filtering mechanisms completely breaking down.
So the key takeaway here is that the old barriers, as restrictive as they were, they basically guaranteed that only a certain baseline of quality or marketability was allowed through.
Right. If you had to be good enough to convince a massive company to bet hundreds of thousands of dollars on you,
you probably had something worth betting on.
Exactly. The old system, for all its flaws, it provided validation. And that brings us right to the gatekeepers, the people who provided that essential validation.
Okay, so let's define that. Officially, a gatekeeper is an individual who controls the flow of information or allows or prevents access to proceed to the next level.
They're the quality control mechanism, whether it's a commissioning editor at a publisher or a venture capital partner.
Or in the music world.
In the music world, the prime example was the artists and repertoire person, the A&R guy.
Right.
Their entire job was to listen, to go to shows, and to determine if a rock band was good enough, marketable enough, and, unique enough to justify a massive record label investment.
Okay, but hold on. I have to push back on that for a second. When we talk about gatekeepers, isn't that also the system that kept incredible, maybe niche artists from ever being heard?
That's a critical point.
Weren't these gatekeepers also deeply biased, focused only on what they thought would sell, and so they excluded revolutionary ideas?
Yes, that bias was absolutely a limiting factor, no question. But the argument here is that even a biased, profit-driven filter is better than no filter at all. The sources highlight radio host Eddie Trunk, who says, today, with the filter gone, he is just absolutely inundated with terrible demos and albums.
So the absence of the gatekeeper doesn't mean everything good gets through.
No, it means everything gets through, including a mountain of low-quality stuff.
That distinction between the gatekeepers being restrictive and the gatekeeper being necessary for quality, that's huge.
It is.
And the power of taking that painful, honest feedback is best illustrated by the story of the band Skid Row.
A huge band from the 80s and 90s. But they weren't an overnight success. The sources talk about the experience of their guitarist, Dave the Snake Sabo.
Right.
They had songs, they had demos, they had the look, but when they presented their work to multiple industry experts, the feedback was unanimous.
Good, but not great.
Good, but not great.
That has to be the most devastating critique an artist or an entrepreneur can get.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it doesn't give you a clear direction, but it stalls your entire progress.
It forces introspection. And Skid Row, they didn't get angry. They didn't push back and say, you just don't get our vision.
No.
They took the advice, they locked themselves down, spent months refining their sound, writing new material, polishing their whole package.
And that act of radical self-improvement based on expert external feedback.
That's why they eventually signed with Atlantic Records and just exploded.
Yeah.
That single piece of expert gatekeeper feedback changed the entire trajectory of their career.
So success wasn't just about getting access to the label. It was about achieving a level of quality that made success almost inevitable once they had that access.
Precisely. And we see this dynamic play out so clearly in competitive environments like, say, reality television.
Like American Idol.
Exactly. The judges there are acting as classic gatekeepers, giving weekly public critiques. And we need to look at Clay Aiken from the second season as the perfect business analogy for this.
Okay.
The sources highlight that Aiken was incredibly receptive to every single piece of criticism he got.
He didn't just hear it, he internalized it. He treated it like a weekly stage gate process, didn't he?
He really did. Every Monday, he'd take the harsh words, revise his approach, improve the product, which was his performance, and only then move on to the next stage.
Right. You see so many other contestants who get offended by the critique.
All the time.
They defend their baby instinctively, and they're the ones who get filtered out so quickly.
But Aiken, he transformed himself weekly, from his very first audition to the final competition. And he ended up with a recording contract because he understood that the criticism wasn't an insult.
It was a free roadmap for success.
It was a free roadmap.
And we've all been there, right? That gut instinct to defend your work immediately rather than stepping back and realizing, wait a minute, this critic is actually giving me the data I need to reach the next level.
It requires humility.
A lot of it.
It absolutely does, but it also requires surrounding yourself with the right people, those who are willing to give you that painful truth.
Which brings us back to Eddie Trunk.
It does. That core lesson is summarized perfectly by him. The key to success in the music business is to surround yourself with people who will tell you the truth. And that truth is what the expert gatekeeper is there to provide.
So if we connect that idea, that necessary, painful truth, to the bigger picture of authenticity, the ultimate lesson about the gatekeeper comes from one of the most famous ones in music history.
Sam Phillips.
Sam Phillips.
He was the visionary owner and primary producer at Sun Records and Sun Studios in Memphis. I mean, this is the birthplace of rock and roll.
This is the man who launched the careers of Elvis Presley, Roy Orbison, Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis.
The list goes on and on. He was the ultimate filter for raw, untapped talent.
And the source material highlights this incredibly powerful scene from the film Walk the Line.
Yeah.
It depicts Johnny Cash, played by Joaquin Phoenix, auditioning for Phillips. And Cash, wanting to be respectful, he decides to perform a cover of a popular Jimmy Davis gospel song.
And it is one of the most instructive scenes in the whole film. Because Phillips, the master producer, he stops him maybe 10 seconds in.
Just cuts him off.
Cuts him off. It's a devastating moment, but the dialogue that follows is the key to success in any creative or business venture.
He stops Cash cold, and he starts with the business reality first, which is so crucial. He says, I don't record material that doesn't sell, Mr. Cash, and gospel like that doesn't sell.
And Cash, who is understandably frustrated, asks, is it the gospel or how I sing it?
And this is where Phillips delivers the gut punch that separates the mediocre from the legendary.
He just says,
Both.
both.
And when Cash presses him, well, what's wrong with how I sing it? Phillips delivers the ultimate indictment of any product, any service, any piece of art that just blends in.
He says, I don't believe you.
Wow.
Think about that feedback. That's not a technical note. It's not about your pitch or your tempo. It's a complete dismissal of authenticity.
He's not saying the notes are wrong.
No. He's saying, I do not believe in the product you are selling because I do not believe in the salesperson.
That is the real challenge of white noise, isn't it? If the market doesn't believe you, your product just sinks into the static.
Exactly. Phillips tells him, we've already heard that song 100 times. Just like that. Just like how you were singing it.
Just another cover song.
Just another cover song. And then he poses this fundamental challenge that every successful entrepreneur has to answer.
The dying in the gutter question.
The dying in the gutter question. If you were hit by a truck and you had time for one song to sun you up, one song you genuinely felt, would it be that safe, conventional Jimmy Davis cover?
Or, as he puts it, would you sing something real, something you felt, something that belongs to you?
He says that's the kind of song people want to hear. And he uses this extraordinary, profound phrase. That's the kind of song that truly saves people.
And that's the moment. That's when Cash performs Folsom Prison Blues, and Phillips is just completely stunned.
It was real. It was authentic. It broke the mold. And the lesson here is absolutely twofold for the modern creator, for you.
Okay.
First, salespeople, entrepreneurs. You have to not only believe in your product, but your core authenticity has to shine through every single touch point.
And second?
Second, Sam Phillips' advice on singing something real, something different that truly saves people. That is the ultimate measure of product market fit.
If your idea is just a conventional imitation, it will never cut through the white noise. It has to be authentic and it has to feel essential.
So let's synthesize the three major takeaways from this deep dive into rock and roll's business wisdom.
Okay. First, we establish the necessity of overcoming white noise, that crushing volume of low-quality content that makes filtering essential. The market is tired and it's looking for a shortcut.
A shortcut to quality. Second, we highlighted the career-changing power of accepting expert, truthful feedback.
Like Skid Row going from good to great.
And Clay Aiken using criticism as a continuous improvement tool, viewing that criticism as a roadmap for refinement, not a personal insult, is crucial.
And finally, we landed on the foundational role of genuine authenticity, channeled through Sam Phillips' legendary challenge to Johnny Cash.
Right. If your product isn't something you would bet your life on, something that truly saves people in some small way, it just won't resonate loudly enough to break through the static.
So now that the traditional gatekeepers, the A&R person, the major publisher, the network executive, now that they're often removed from the process.
You, the creator, have become your own quality control.
And this is your ultimate test for quality control. The source material suggests that Sam Phillips' ultimate advice to create something that truly saves people is what elevates a product to success. So if you are responsible for cutting through the white noise, how do you ensure your product or your idea is something real that truly resonates and stands out rather than just being another cover song?
That question, that's the foundation of rockstar wisdom applied directly to your bottom line.